Mr. Olson, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
In 1 minute, tell us why you're the best candidate for the job.
Well, it starts with common sense approaches that I propose that we do for Congress and what we need to get our country out of the mess that we're in. And it starts out with things that I think have broad bipartisan support. With the energy industry, for example, that's one of the things that Oklahoma has an abundance of is natural gas, and that's going to help us get out of the mess that we're in. Investing in energy, investing in the Nat Gas Act is one of the things that we can do that will help us move towards energy independence and will help the Oklahoma economy, because the Nat Gas Act, 96% of the parts that are going to be manufactured pursuant to building the energy infrastructure that we need in this country are going to be manufactured right here in northeast Oklahoma. And I think that's good for the country. It's good for Oklahoma. My opponent, on the other hand, he wants to push for a 30% federal sales tax. It's one of the things that we do in this country, and that's just not a good idea. It puts a big wet blanket on the Oklahoma economy, on a national economy. And I think that when it gets down to it, at the end of the day, working towards common sense solutions is what we need.
All right. Now, the economy and jobs, of course, a key issue for both our state as well as the country. What ideas do you have to strengthen the economy and bring jobs to your district?
Well, like I said before, the Nat Gas Act is the first thing. Investing in energy in this state, in this country, is how we get out of the recession first. And that leads to the second step, which is growing manufacturing in this country. Like I said, the Nat Gas Act will do that. It will help boost manufacturing not only in the state but across the entire country. And then doing common sense solutions, investing where it makes sense, investing in infrastructure which will create jobs immediately right now and it help the economy long term.
All right. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court recently upheld the Health Care Reform Act. That's, of course, another major issue in this election. What is your position on this, and what is your plan for health care?
Well, I support the Affordable Care Act. I think that it's not perfect, and there are a lot of things in it that make sense, that have broad bipartisan support. Things like keeping your kids on your insurance until they're 26, like making sure that a woman with breast cancer or a 6-year-old with leukemia cannot be denied care because they have a pre-existing condition, lifting lifetime caps so that you don't go bankrupt or lose your home because of a pre-existing or because you got sick or injured. Now, you've seen some of the positive effects just last month when $20 million were paid back to Oklahoma families and Oklahoma small businesses in overcharge fees. Now, these are things that Republicans, Democrats, Independents all think are good things. Rather than scrap the whole thing, let's work with it and make it better and fix it. And that's what I propose we do.
All right. Now, we continue to see the national debt as well as the budget deficits increase. What is your stand on these?
Well, we do need to cut waste, and I've seen some waste, and I'll give you an example. When I was in Afghanistan, we had a contract, the U.S. had a contract with the Afghan National Army, and that was to make uniforms and send them to Afghanistan. The problem was that the Afghan Army didn't have the storage capacity to hold on to those uniforms. So what they would do, in some cases twice a week, was make a big pile of everything that we just sent them and light it on fire. That's really watching your tax dollars go up in smoke. It's infuriating, and we are better than that, and there are examples, hundreds of examples of where we can cut waste out. Having said that, we also need to fix the tax code, and my opponent, like I said before, proposes a 30% federal sales tax on all goods and services. It really is a bad idea. What I propose instead really kind of comes from my perspective as being a soldier. Look, only 1% of Americans ever serve in the armed forces, and we have asked that 1% to pay our nation's debts in red, and I will insist that we ask the wealthiest 1% to pay their share in green.
All right. Now, with every election cycle, Social Security is moving closer to running out of money. What are your ideas for reforming Social Security? Well,
first and foremost, you have to deal with a lot of the myths that are out there. Despite what a lot of people would have you believe, Social Security and Medicare are not insolvent, and there are reasonable changes that we can make to make them last into the next century. The people who say that they're insolvent are saying that so that they can just scrap the whole program, both of them. Now, AARP has come up with some rational, common sense plans that we can enact that will keep these programs lasting into the next century. My opponent, on the other hand, wants to turn Medicare into a Groupon. I mean, he wants to turn it into a voucher program. And this is what he said in a questionnaire to the League of Women Voters. He said that Social Security is a promise that previous administrations and Congresses have made to our senior citizens, and we'll keep that promise for those 55 and older. But if you're younger than that, you should look to a church, a charity, or your family before you ever draw from the social safety net. Now, that's what he said. I think we're better than that.
All right. That is our 5-minute time limit. Mr. Olson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.